What's up, guys? Welcome back to Angle Grinders and Ideas. Now this is video 2, but day 1 on the Ram 1500 Dodge SRT-10. It's a lot to say. Dodge Ram 1500 SRT-10 Crew Cab Automatic V10 8.3. I don't know. I'm gonna walk around the truck. I'm just gonna run through what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tripod it up and we're gonna get to working. So the front end's obviously, it's all gotta go, right? We talked about that before. It needs both new fenders, front bumper, core support, radiator, condenser, I think, and hood for certain. This tire is also really like on edge, right? So it's got the little tumor right there, and there's another one right here. We're gonna vacuum up all the glass and stuff on the cowl, get all that out of here, get the Copart sticker from Allstate off the dash or the window, and then I'm just gonna vacuum out the inside and clean out all the trash. There's a bunch of shit in the door panels, all that's gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off like the Viper sticker here and the SCT badge if I can get it off without tearing up the aluminum piece behind. Alright, so nothing crazy, just a little bit of a vacuum job. It's insane how much nicer it'll be just to get in and out of this thing with a relatively cleaner area. The carpet is nasty, man. It's so bad. You can see that stain. It's just disgusting, and it's a lot better when it's clean, so that's cool. We're gonna move forward. I was looking at the front end a little bit more. You know, I kind of just like roughly look at all these things when I get them, but it looks like this is bent, right? Like there's some damage here where the paint's missing, and it's definitely pushed in. But if you look at it, I mean, it unbolts here, which is great, and we talked about how this fender isn't damaged, which is awesome, because that means that underneath isn't damaged. And it looks like it just needs to go, you know, straight across, and it's pushed back on the top center. So this may be like a no welding scenario where I can just buy a new upper and a new lower right here. Now, this portion is pushed in at all. I might be able to pull that out. I just don't know yet, but I don't want to have to pull all this stuff and do all up in here if I don't need to. That would be absolutely amazing. You can see this was pushed in here, so there's a good chance that it is, but it's not really scratched, and it's designed to crunch and crush on impact so you don't feel all that energy as a human being inside. So maybe, you know, maybe it does need to be changed out over here, but when we pull the fender off, which has to happen regardless, we'll be able to see a little bit more. I don't know if I'm gonna pull the fenders today, but I wanna pull the front bumper, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut out all of this nasty add-on wiring for these eBay headlights that they had on here. So let's take it apart. Like this truck had air right on it. I pulled out some air hoses, and it doesn't anymore for certain, but what I don't know is if there's even a strut in there. This is like a spring strut combo. I believe the strut goes in the center of the spring. I don't know for certain, but I'm gonna take you and a light on the inside and look at all this air ride wiring that's coming through. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So there's definitely some sketchy wiring going on. It's gonna suck if this thing doesn't have struts, but I really like the ride height, but it would make sense if it was low. Yeah, see, look, this right here, airlift. And I cut this hose, but it goes to like, I guess a control box up here. I don't really know. There we go. There's another T in the system for some sort of air ride thing, and then it goes back further. So I'm gonna set the camera down. Actually, I'm just gonna cut. You guys aren't. I'll tell you what happened. I'll let you know. But here's everything I took out of it. There's a lot of stuff. Some of this stuff is like LEDs that were on the top of the hood, or the bottom of the hood rather, so when you lifted it, they came on. That was nice and all, but they were in terrible condition, just like pretty much the rest of this truck. So while it is getting a lot better, it's got a long way to go. Still haven't pulled the bumper off. We're gonna do that here in a minute, maybe.
You see my growth is consistent, can't help but think that it's guidance. I got my hands on 12 o'clock, I'm not concerned with your science, don't try it. People looking down and talking disbelief, that's cool. But my family looking down and they gon' push me through. My pops escaped the genocide, I'm lucky I'm here. 1940 back in Hungary, had no room for the fear. My pops escaped the genocide, then hopped on a train.
Alright, so I wanted to slow this down for a second and show you guys a little more detail. If you notice, I took off, this is a trans cooler, I believe that's what that is. There's an oil cooler down here. This was hit obviously. This was creased right here, so when I talked about maybe not having to change this, it's gonna have to be changed or maybe pulled out. Now the frame rail itself was not damaged, we've talked about that already in the first video, but you know, it's because it's got a bushing in there, and then this thing just kind of takes the brunt of the force and bends backwards like that. The other side's not as bad. I want to say it's probably tweaked a little bit too. Maybe I can heat it and pull it out. Maybe I can talk to some friends and see if they're able to assist me in that. But for right now, I'm going to take these bolts out, take this off, get that bar out of there, and then pull the radiator. And you know, the reason I took the top bar off first is now I can pull the whole assembly forward instead of having to mess with all the stuff that's like a lot tighter on the other side. So back to it. So we got all that stuff off. It's a little bit tough to get the rest of this core support out, so I cut it off with a Sawzall, but it's got 2 bolts on top and 2 on the bottom. Now when you take it out, it wants to hit the frame, so the range of motion is super low. When it was in the right position, it was probably over here. This wasn't so close, and you actually had some room where you could do it. Same goes for this side. I got 1 or 2 more bolts I can't get out, and then once I get them out, I should be able to slide this out. They're just like this, except mirrored on the other side. I got the radiator out. It was in pretty bad shape, and the fan is weird too. So it's got the power steering runs to like a module on the fan. I've got it zip tied up there now just to kind of hold it out of my way, but the fan doesn't spin anymore. A lot of broken pieces of the shroud are, I think they're protruding and stopping it from rotating properly. So it's gonna need a new fan, and the fan's probably not cheap given the fact that it's got like a hydraulic power steering, some sort of add-on on there. I mean it's factory, but it's, you know, not standard for every vehicle. This cooler, whatever it's for, looks to be in pretty good shape. It's not terrible, it's not tweaked super bad, maybe savable. It's obviously not leaking. I think the only thing that was actually leaking was the condenser, the AC condenser. The radiators on these things are huge. You can see where the fan hit. Despite all that damage, there was a ton of coolant in this thing, so I don't think it was actually leaking. I think when the truck initially was overheating when I had it idling, or, you know, is getting low on the hot side, it's just because the fan wasn't working and the truck wasn't moving. So the condenser was pretty mangled. I'm not surprised it leaked. Radiator also needs to be changed out. There's the pieces that I cut out, top and bottom core supports, and we're really not too bad off. Now I wish this stuff wasn't bent over here, but it is what it is. It's kind of the risk you take when you buy stuff like this. And if it wasn't, you know, bent, it wouldn't be as cheap as it was, and we wouldn't be able to make money on it. So I'm gonna put it back in the tripod. I'm gonna get this whole lower bumper off out of my way, and I think once I remove that, I'll have an easier shot at getting these bolts out of the bottom, and then we can pull those pieces out. One side off. You can hear me over the music if I even put that clip in. What happened is that this piece, you can see where it's like flared out right there, or like ovalized or elongated, whatever you want to call it. The piece had like folded inward, so part of the bolt was like holding it. There's little housings in there, so you can't access them through there, but that wasn't an option anyway when it was on there. What happened was, you saw me jumping around and putting all my weight on it. You know, it almost felt like there was another bolt holding it, but I knew that there wasn't. But this is what happened right here. So this piece like basically flared itself into the opening like a press fit or whatever. It was just sticking, like the bolt was still in. So I started whacking this as hard as I could. You know, I knew this was trash, and at least it finally came off. So before I get rid of this, I'm gonna pull the nuts off there in case I need them. Sometimes you order these new bumpers and they don't come with hardware, and then, you know, spend like 15 bucks on nuts if you go to Ace or whatever, you're in a pinch. Anyway, I'll pull all the nuts off here, down there, and I'll pull the fog light housings, and then all this shit can go to the trash. The fog lights, both housings are broken on the backside, so those aren't gonna do me any good. But I need to get the other side off, and then you can see here the frame rail is looking. All right, that's it. So it's finally apart. Let's see what it looks like and talk about these frame rails that I mentioned, you know, a couple times. This is the kind of damage you want to look for. You want to look for crinkles in this. You want to look for a tweak left and right, anything like that, because then it may or may not drive straight. Getting this straight, if it wasn't, to bolt the front bumper on, it's pretty hard. You either got to pay to have it straightened, cut it off, and weld on a new one. A lot more dismantling is going to have to happen, and it's really just a big pain in the ass. All right, guys, that'll do it. I'm gonna start it up and we're just gonna film it and see if a bunch of coolant dumps out. So after multiple attempts to start it, changed battery terminal, didn't matter. Battery's dead, which is fine, it's expected. But the battery box that I use, my jump box, is totally screwed up. With that being said, I'm not gonna make you guys wait and sit through me trying to get this truck pushed outside and jumped the traditional way. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you guys tuning in to another new build, another new project, and bearing with me while it takes me all this time to get new videos out. Peace out.